I was particularly interested in this subject matter because I've lived in New York for a whole bunch of years, and while I don't go out a lot myself, you sort of can't help but see and know a lot of people who do, and I've just been fascinated by it, and I thought it would be just personally a really interesting area to look into, and it would give me a really good excuse to go out in the name of research while being the one to sort of stand off to the side and sort of watch, which was fun for me to be able to do it for a few nights here and a few nights there. And it was also, very, I think, similar to the first book, and it's at least perceived to be, and it definitely is like a very exclusive, sort of sexy, glamorous world. It seems that way from the outside, and I sort of like getting in there and taking a look at what it's really like from the inside. I did go out for the researching part quite a bit. I had been interviewing a lot of the sort of the kind of PR mavens in the city who are working at these really, I guess, like the top PR and events planning firms in the city. And they invited me to some of their events and let me tag along with them when they went out at night. And some of the stuff I saw was just absolutely, absolutely incredible. And it's like I said, it's fun to be able to sort of have a reason to be there and hang back and watch and observe. I mean, it's really, it's a fun thing when you don't have to do it every night. One of the really fun things about writing the novel was getting to research all sorts of new areas. I've never worked in PR, and I've never worked in an investment bank like she starts out doing in the novel. And it was really sort of fun to learn all about these different industries and see the different aspects to them. But there are parts, I think there's always parts of an author that sort of creep into the main character. So it's not, the narrator and the author clearly in this case, as in most cases, like completely different people. But I think there are parts. I love that she views herself, even though she might not be, as a bit of an outsider. She likes to sort of hang back and watch and observe, and she definitely looks at things, I think, with a bit of a skewed perspective, in a good way, just not necessarily always having the perspective that you would necessarily expect. And she seems, to me, I hope at least, I tried very hard to have her have a good sense of humor and be a bit self-deprecating, because those are the things that I find sort of most appealing about people. I hope that she's a likable character and someone that young girls, college-age girls, women in their 20s and 30s can relate to. She's going through that time in her life, and I think it's something that's very, very, very common, where it's that period in your sort of mid to late 20s where everything is uncertain. Your love life's all screwed up, and you don't know exactly what you want to do for a job, never mind a career, and it's that period before you get a little more settled and a little more established, where it feels like everything's in flux and everything changes on a daily basis, and probably one of the only times in your life you can look back to just the year before and say, oh my God, I can't believe how much has changed. I hope and think that that's one of the parts of the book and one of the main characters that people will relate to. I was amazed at how many different types of people are reading this book. I mean, one would automatically assume that it's just going to be all young women, teens, 20s, maybe 30s. And I can't tell you how many events I did where there would be literally hundreds of women my mom's age, in their 50s and sometimes 60s, which I found really surprising at first until I figured out and I started speaking with them. They'd come up to me after a reading or a signing and say, it's so wonderful to read your book because it's exactly what my own daughter's doing right now. And I realized that all of these women who are reading these types of books, and the women in their 50s and 60s, have daughters who are living independent lives, and oftentimes in big cities across the country, and their daughters are having the same kind of adventures or mishaps or whatever the case may be, the same sort of job and romantic struggles that either Andrea from the first book or Bet from the second book are having, and they liked reading about that. So that was sort of a surprise to me. And I've gotten emails and letters from probably more guys than would care to admit. I mean, I remember one that really stood out saying, please don't ever tell anyone who I am or that I wrote you this letter. This is from someone I've never met, some guy in Chicago who works for a sports magazine, who wrote that, I saw a copy of your book laying on my girlfriend's table and, just sort of picked it up and was flipping through it lazily and got so hooked I couldn't stop reading. And that's one of the letters that really stands out in my mind. I'm thinking he is clearly not what someone would consider my target reader, and the fact that he just sort of stumbled across it and claimed to like it so much is really so exciting for me. So I think there's a lot of different types of people getting different things out of the book.